YouTubers, space detectives. This is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now a quick game of interplanetary I Spy going on here, back to the moon, and in particular this image from Apollo 11. Now this was taken before there was a landing on the moon, as they flew over the moon and around it at about a height of around 50 miles. It's not that close to the surface, so the things we're going to be looking at on the surface are quite a long way down, and we're only able to see the very largest structures. The smaller structures are not really visible because the level of zoom and everything isn't really enough to actually look at them. Okay, now this was taken from the Apollo spacecraft, showing Earth rising above the moon's horizon, which is up there. The lunar terrain picture is in the area of Smythe Sea on the near side. So you can download this and check this out yourself. It's a good high quality image. It's about 4 megabytes, and let's get on with it and I'll show you what I've seen. Now this is a part 2 to this video here called Huge Rectangle Building Spotted on the Moon, which I released about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. And there's a whole row of structures in here. There's multiple structures, and there's a big structure near a crater as well. I'm not going to show you all that now, but I do recommend that you watch part 1, because this will make more sense, because this is the same image. Now these details that I showed in the first video are mainly on the bottom left corner of the image. What I'm going to show today is in the center right of the image. So it's the same image and similar massive structures on the surface. We've got the usual craters and stuff like that. Let me play a little bit of that. We've got the usual craters and features here. But when you really play with the contrast in these images, all you have to do is play with the contrast. You will start to see some of these huge rectangular structures. Some of them are really clear, even in the raw image. And you don't even have to do anything. But a simple bit of contrast is all you need. And up the darkness, up the brightness, and these things will pop out straight in front of you in your graphics processing software. Now, this is what it looks like raw. This has only been enlarged. It has not been touched in any other way. It's just been enlarged. And the area I did in part 1 was down here by this crater. There's a big kind of square structure there, multiple blocks on top of each other there. And that building I just showed you, the big rectangular building, is down here. What you have to do is add a load of contrast, and it will start to jump out at you, like so. Okay, and immediately when you do that, right next to this big ramp-like thing, you've got this bright kind of circular crater or whatever that is, and then you've got a really large square building just there. So let me go back to the raw image. There we are. You can even see it in the raw image. You've got a perfect right angle there, and it comes round, and we've got this kind of weird line here and some structures around here. Let's go darker again. There we are. Now I'm going to brighten it as well. This is how easy it is. It's really quite easy to do. Let's do that a couple of times and then see what happens. There we are. Now we can see it. We've got this giant rectangle here. Now it's on the slope, so but the top of it is square. It's basically square, but it's on the kind of coming down this slope here. We've got another structure here. We've got this thing here, and some structures here. We've got another structure here, and up on top, you can just about make out that there is a structure on top of this kind of mound, or you've got a ramp going up from just below this square thing, this massive square block. The ramp goes up, and then we've got a sort of crater type structure, but there's something in there. There's structures inside it which are kind of rectangular or kind of like a step pyramid like shape just there. And there's also multiple structures around this. So what I'm going to do, also I'll show you some of the stuff over here. There's some weird structures over here. You've got to really play with the contrast. There's what initially appears like a crater here, but with something sticking up out of it, like a big, massive block-like structure as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the clips I've done, because otherwise it would take too long to enhance every little part. in real time. So what I'll do is I'll show you each crop that I've taken. I've got the raw image here, then I'm going to flick through. Here's the main part that I was interested in, with the square structure here, right near the center there. And there's that ramp going up. This is completely raw. Okay, so let's go darker. This is what I just showed you. Let's go darker again and closer. There we are. Now what I've done here is really carefully worked the contrast to bring these structures out more. I've brightened it a bit and I've darkened it, and I've used a clarify tool on my software, which you should get a similar thing on Paint Shop, or I mean, sorry, on Photoshop. I don't use Photoshop. Paint Shop's got a thing called Clarify, which actually brings stuff out quite well. It's just kind of, you just set it to number 1 or 2, and that's what it does. It basically increases the contrast. It's like a smart contrast. You've got this structure that comes right round here. This is raised, this whole area. There's a kind of triangle. I've just noticed this. There's a sort of line there, which is like a sort of triangular thing. There's that sort of crater thing with a sort of step pyramid, almost like a ziggurat shaped structure there, with another structure next to it. And we've got these multiple structures here, which are stuck up, and they're kind of rectangular. There's another one here, a bit like a building, and there's another one here. There's a rectangular structure there. There's the main one that caught my eye initially, which is square, with some smaller structures behind it. We've got this weird sort of ovoid shaped kind of thing here. I don't know what that is. And some kind of block-like structures stacked on top of each other there. And we've got another structure here by the side of this kind of big mound, with a kind of semicircular part to it here. Very odd indeed. It's really hard to work out what these things are. Now, of course, a lot of this may be natural, of course, because this is the moon. But would they have rectangular structures like this naturally occurring on the surface of the moon? I don't think so. Perfectly within the bounds of reasonable exploration, as usual. So that was the really interesting bit. There's another clip here of that larger area. Now, I will put these clips in at the end, as I usually do, and show them all again, so you can take screenshots if you like. Now, this is the raw clip of the larger area with the craters, and I'm just going to flick through these now. Now, this is quite vague, but if you look carefully, let your eyes adjust. We've got some what look like craters or kind of different levels here, and raised areas with very large structures sticking up out of them, like here. You've got something there. It's a bit vague, but there's something sticking up there, a very bright rectangular structure there, sticking up. Similar to the one in part 1, that is. It's long and rectangular with square inner parts, like as if it's got columns on the outside. Very interesting. I will do some closer up clips of these for you in a minute, and put them in at the end. There's a rectangular structure here with a square structure on top of it. When you start looking at this stuff, there's loads of it, but you've got to let your eyes adjust, because it is difficult to see initially. If you're not used to looking at moon images, you've got to really kind of let your eyes adjust and take your time, look slowly. There's another structure here sticking out of this crater. There's multiple ones in this one. A lot of these so-called craters have got buildings in them, which are kind of rectangular and square, a lot of them, and they stick up like big blocks, like tower blocks. There's a row of them here. I will do some more clips of that and darken it a bit more so you can see that. They're not amazingly clear, those. There's also this weird crater as well, which I thought has got something weird on the side of it here. Let's go through the... That's been darkened so you can see. There looks like a weird structure on the side of this crater. And you've got these angular kind of striations coming out, which look fairly normal, but it's very angled, I suppose. There's a weird thing here, like a box, like a weird sort of bright coloured structure on the side here, and another one here. Very odd indeed. And this looks like it's kind of set into the side of the crater there, as if there's something dug into it, like a structure. Very odd. And there's other structures behind, but I can't really make out what they are. They're too vague. There's some little rectangular structures up here. And there's some other structures here. There's one there, a couple there, but they're not that clear. But this was weird. So I'm not going to spend ages going through all this. I'm basically just giving you a basic idea where to look in the image and what parts to enhance and actually concentrate on. There we are. There's some weird stuff there. But the main bit was the first one with a big ramp going up onto this mound with structures on top of it. You've got a kind of triangular structure there. I didn't really notice that until this minute or this last few minutes. When I initially enhanced this, I didn't notice that up there. I was more concentrating on this stuff down here and trying to work out what it is. You've got a semicircle there, you've got a structure sticking up, another kind of rectangular structure here. There's smaller rectangular structures behind. It's like a whole complex here, like some sort of mining complex or something like that. So let's look at the bigger area of that, because there's one that's further back and it shows more of the other things below. There's more structures below here, sticking up. There's something there. I mean, some of this may be natural, of course. But the weird thing is, with these photographs, they're not like modern digital photographs because they're taken on a real camera. So what you've got is a different type of grain to the picture. In other words, when you make the photographs or the slides, they're made up of tiny grains of silver oxide, I think it is, and so they're like little tiny grains or flakes, smaller than the size of a piece of dust, perhaps. They're minuscule, and there's millions of them in an image, and they kind of sit on the surface of the photograph and form the pigment and react when the photo's developed. So it's not the same as a modern digital photograph. So what you're seeing, you don't tend to get the same sort of pixelation as you do with modern photographs, because these aren't modern photographs. These are taken with real cameras. They're high quality, and there's some amazing structures here. Now, they're not supposed to be rectangle, square block buildings on the moon, but there are. I've shown many in many videos before. Other people have shown them as well. And some of them are so massive they can be seen from through a telescope from Earth. You don't have to look at these images. If you go to channels like Bruce Sees All on YouTube, he shows some amazing massive structures that he's taken through his telescope. And they're all over the place. Some of these craters are absolutely littered with structures. And this thing at the back here looks like it's kind of joined up to all this. I'll take some more clips and I'll do a few more enhancements and close-ups and try and clarify these a little bit more for you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please go over to my new channel, Space Detective 1, if you haven't already, and subscribe if you haven't. And please share this on social media. And as I said before, if you do have ad blocker, please turn it off. It really does help. I'm not saying you have to watch any adverts. Just skip them after 3 seconds like I do. But it does help because I do get a tiny bit of revenue even if you skip an advert. And it all helps this channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.